Okay, good evening, and welcome to the press conference following the Gimnich, the informal meeting of EU foreign ministers. The High Representative Josep Borrell and Foreign Ministers Tobias Billström will give you a short summary of the discussions held today, and then we will move to your questions. High Representative, you have the floor.
Thank you, and thank you to all of you for waiting so long. You can imagine that it was not easy to discuss about the situation in Ukraine, plus our relations with China. And I want to thank you, Tobias, for your hospitality in this beautiful place and this sunny Sweden. Certainly climate change is a reality, and it's good for you, because it's such a beautiful day here in Sweden, to talk about two important issues: Ukraine, Russia, and China. First, on Ukraine. It's clear that Putin has no intention to abandon its objective to subjugate Ukraine, and he will continue bombing, attacking, destroying Ukraine. It's clear now, more than ever, the ministers have agreed on stressing the importance of continuing supporting Ukraine. It is and it remains our priority to continue supporting Ukraine and give Ukraine the means to defend itself and build the necessary resilience to defeat Russia. Over the last 15 months, we have been providing military support to Ukraine for about 15 billion. It is significant, but unhappily more will have to come. We have been fast in our response, but now we have to look a little bit further, medium term, on how to transform the instruments that we have developed to face the immediate threats and to provide the munitions and military equipment, how to convert it in a long-term commitment to ensure Ukraine and to support Ukraine humanitarian, financially, and militarily. We know that accession to the European Union is our ultimate commitment with Ukraine, to the stability and prosperity of Ukraine. But in the meantime, we have to continue offering practical and concrete support. And I want to send a clear message to Putin. There is no and will not be fatigue. We will continue supporting Ukraine as much as Ukraine needs for as long as needed. I think it's important to repeat some narrative. There is an aggressor and an aggressed. Ukraine is a victim and Russia is the aggressor. Russia doesn't want to stop fighting, and Ukraine cannot stop fighting. If he wants to continue just existing as a nation, cannot stop. Russia doesn't want, Ukraine cannot stop. Many people say they want peace. We do. And the one who wants peace more than anyone else are the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians want peace. We want peace. But we want a capitulation. We don't want Ukraine to become the second Belarus. And that's why the President Zelensky peace formula for us today, right now, is the only comprehensive framework for a just, sustainable peace in Ukraine. Tomorrow we will continue the discussion with the Foreign Minister Kuleba, and then after the lunch, an early lunch, it was very early for the... we had a long discussion that reflected our consensus on China. And I am happy, I think I can announce that colleagues welcome the paper that we presented and the summary of this paper on the letter I addressed to them. They agree on the basic lines of this recalibration of our strategy on China, considering the recent domestic evolution in China and the foreign policy trajectories. We continue with the triptych because it reflects reality. It's rival, partner, and competitor. And there is a key word which is engage. We have to engage with China in many fronts for many different issues, and at the same time we have to compete with China and to decrease our dependencies when these dependencies become too big and so risky. On the last times, the dimension of rival has become more and more important, at the same time that the complexity of our relations with China has been increasing. I cannot explain you 4 hours of discussion, but I can summarize it saying that with respect to China, we have an issue about values. We have a different political system. We understand differently what is about human rights, individual and collective human rights. We are a multi-party political system and a free market economy. It means that our values in which we base the political system are different, and we have to deal with that. Second, we have a problem on economic security. Our trade relations are very much unbalanced. They have to be balanced, and dependencies have to be avoided. And this is not a slogan. De-risky is just a word. But behind this word, there is a lot of work that will take time to review our economic relations with China, not for decoupling, but to balance in a fair way. To balance and to avoid excessive dependencies on some critical sectors. We are not drifting towards protectionism. China and the European Union, we are both economic powerhouse. We have to put our relations in a balanced approach. The world needs that, and we will work on it. And finally, on strategic security, there are 2 main issues: Taiwan and Russia aggression against Ukraine. On Taiwan, nothing new. Our position remains consistent with one China policy. We want to engage with China and with the US on maintaining the status quo and de-escalating tensions in the Strait of Taiwan, which is so important for the world trade and in particular for us. And on Ukraine, the European Union-China relations will not develop normally if China doesn't push Russia to withdraw from Ukraine. And we call to China, as a permanent member of the Security Council of the United Nations, to influence over Russia to stop this war and to play a constructive role to achieve a just peace for Ukraine. The paper I presented, thanks to the work of many people of the External Action Service, will be reviewed, will be perfected in order to be used by the European Union Council on the next meeting when the leaders will discuss about China. Today it has been a fruitful and positive discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It has been a true pleasure to host you, Josep, and my fellow foreign ministers from the European Union here at the Steninge Slot in Stockholm for Gymnich. Our discussions have been very open, very friendly, as befits a union with shared values and interests. I think that we emerge from this meeting with an even stronger EU unity on some of the fundamental issues facing our union and a clear commitment to advance our common agenda. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank everyone involved in the organization of the meeting for helping it to make it such a success. Our agenda today reflects some of the key priorities for the Swedish presidency. The primary task of our presidency is to help ensure Europe's security. And this is best done by standing up for Ukraine. This is not simply crisis management. This is about fighting for decency and protecting the rules-based world order, not only in Europe, but for the whole world. We have, and our commitment and our support to Ukraine is, just as the High Representative just said, it's unwavering. We have also discussed the need to continue to increase the pressure on Russia. The work on the 11th sanctions package is well underway. As EU presidency, we are doing our utmost to facilitate EU unity on this. And in this context, I would like to mention that we tomorrow will have an informal meeting with the EU foreign ministers and Ukraine's foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba. And this will be a valuable opportunity to listen to Minister Kuleba's views on all relevant issues, including the EU's support, the current situation on the ground, and how to further pressure Russia by additional sanctions and efforts to secure accountability. Today we have also discussed how to develop and de-risk our engagement with China. Fundamentally, we value our exchanges with the Chinese people and the country's leadership, but we will not hesitate to use the tools at our disposal and continue to create new ones when necessary to ensure that exchanges are in line with our interests, our values and our security. The EU and its member states will continue to jointly speak up on issues that touch the core on our values, including China's ambitions to recast the international order and its concerning human rights situation. The case of Swedish EU citizen Gui Minhai, whose rights to consular assistance China's continue to deny, remains of highest priority. We will also stand united in our messaging with China's decision-making, that it has consequences for EU interests and security. And this includes China's alignment with Russia and any possible support for Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Equally, upholding peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait is of great concern to the EU. Threats of violence or a change of the status quo using force or coercion are unacceptable. And finally, we discussed on how to use the unity within the EU as a platform for deeper engagement with partners around the world. And to this end, I look very much forward to co-hosting the Stockholm EU Indo-Pacific Forum tomorrow. There is a need for closer cooperation with like-minded partners, most importantly in a transatlantic format. In closing, let me just thank you, Joseph, for an excellent meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tobias.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for choosing this place.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And now we will take some questions, and I will start with the lady here.
Hello, my name is Pia Gripenberg, Swedish daily Dagens Nyheter. Regarding China, there are some different views on China among the member states. Some are in the Belt and Road Initiative, some are not members of the Belt and Road Initiative. So which are the main sticking points among the member states when it comes to China? And what do you actually mean with de-risking the relation with China? And also, could it be some kind of export restrictions towards China going forward, please?
Oh, a full answer to these three questions will be to repeat a 4 hours discussion. I'm sure you will not resist it. I'm sure that you prefer a short answer first. You know, a complex relationship like the one that we have with China unavoidably have different approaches, because there are different interests. It's not the same thing, a big exporter, China, like it is the case of Germany, or countries that have almost no economic relationship. It's clear that we are in a different situation, but one thing is clear, and believe me, the 27 are united behind the music of this text. Then it will be some word that someone will be happy if it's being changed by another one. Nuance. Second, third rank considerations. The paper has been considered a complete and solid approach to our relation with China. I haven't seen any concrete disagreement. I am so happy because I think it's a very solid basis for China to understand that the 27 are united. Finish the 14, the group that was in a specific relationship with China. Now there are 27, only 27. The 27 together behind this approach. Then there are tonalities, certainly. A little bit more of that, a little bit less of that, maybe not so much. But second, third rank considerations. The second question was?
De-risking. What do we mean by de-risking?
De-risking. Look, when a dependency is too big, it's a risk. And the typical example is the dependency on the Russian gas. It was a risky dependency. And we made a strategic mistake on letting this dependency grow so big. Today we have dependencies on China with respect to the digital transformation that are bigger than the ones that we had with Russia on the hydrocarbons field. I'm thinking on solar panel, critical materials, specific technologies. It's not a matter of considering a danger, but certainly it's a risk when you depend too much in someone. Even if your market depends in a single client, imagine a firm that has only one client. Well, it's a risky situation. You would prefer to have several. Well, this is the case. If the word de-risking has a negative feeling, use another one. Reducing excessive dependencies. Is that about? Then can we think on restrictions? We want to avoid the circumvention of sanctions, and we want to avoid that Russia gets dual-use material that could fit their war machine. And this is something valuable for everybody.
Thank you. Finbar, and then you.
Thank you, Finbar Birmingham from the South China Morning Post. I wanted to ask, What's the next step in putting together a new China policy? Do you want to have something in place, for example, in time for the EU-China summit later in the year? What form will that take? Will it be an update on the 2019 strategy? And just one more question, High Rep, you keep saying that if the Russians don't act positively on if the Chinese don't act positively on Russia, then the relationship cannot stay the same. So what's going to happen if you don't have something productive from China on that front? Will we see an end to some of the engagement that is promoted in the paper, for example, or what form does that change in the relationship take? Thank you.
You know, life is complicated, huh? If you don't like, if I don't like your behavior, you cannot expect to be good friends. On many things that I cannot foresee today, but for us, it's so important that Russia understands that this is China understands that it's an existential threat for us, what's happening in Ukraine. That we expect that China will use its role and its responsibilities. If this is not the case, our relationship will not be so good. And which are the next steps? To improve this paper, to incorporate what the member states has been considering, to produce a new paper, and to present that to the leaders in order for the leaders of the European Union Council to take a clear stance on our relation with Russia. Additionally, we continue working on the economic security proposal that is being worked together, the Commission and the High Representative, and it should also be approved together as a joint communication, a joint proposal, not joint communication, a joint proposal before the next European Union Council, I hope. And then we will continue working on the issue related with the dual use of exports and with the critical raw material club and the other thing that has already been approved by the Commission. And I want to remember that I am also Vice President of the Commission, so I take my part of it and present it to the Parliament and the Council for its approval. But to finish this paper and to approve a joint proposal on economic security. These are the two immediate steps.
You have the floor.
Thanks a lot, Florian Neuhan from ZDF German TV. I have a question on your discussion tomorrow with Minister Kuleba, because in the recent conversations, Kuleba has often expressed his dissatisfaction with the European Union. He said the EU acts too slow, be it on ammunition or on sanctions. So my question is, what can you offer him concretely tomorrow? Are there any concrete commitments you can make, be it on sanctions, be it on more ammunition? What will you tell him besides your strong words that you just made again?
Look, I understand if we were on the situation of Minister Kuleba, if we were on the shoes of any Ukrainian soldier fighting in the front, I will be very demanding. I understand perfectly. If I were under a critical situation, I will be very demanding, asking for more and asking for quicker answer. It's human. But the concern that Minister Kuleba expressed about the agreement of our member states for track 2 for joint procurement of ammunition, this has been solved. We already have an agreement, and the work continues in order to implement it. And he knows that. And Minister Kuleba knows that we are doing everything we can according with our rules of procedure in order to support Ukraine. He knows that. And I thank his stimulus, and I understand him.
Thank you. And last question, Ansar.
Ansgar Hase, German press agency, DPA. A question on sanctions to both of you. The Hungarian foreign minister said after the discussions this afternoon that the Hungarian government can hardly negotiate sanctions as long as Hungary's largest bank is on the Ukrainian list of international war sponsors. What's your comment on this, and do you see this as a problem? Thank you.
Have you heard that?
No.
No? We haven't heard this. We haven't heard these comments from the Hungarian minister. Sorry.
He also criticized a war atmosphere here in the room.
A war atmosphere.
Atmosphere. Has he been in the room?
You have to ask him.
Well, I guess...
To tell the truth, I haven't perceived a war atmosphere at all. I can understand that Hungary has concerns, and that it's not a secret that Hungary doesn't believe on the effectiveness of the sanctions. They said that every day. But has been nothing new about that. But we are peaceful people here.
Certainly.
Yes.
And just as the High Representative said, we have discussed many items on the agenda related to Russia's aggression against Ukraine. And we can perceive everywhere that although we are all in favor of peace, of course there could be peace tomorrow if Russia stopped fighting and withdrawn its troops from Ukraine's territory. But if Ukraine stops fighting, Ukraine will disappear off the map. This is what this is all about. And the atmosphere of war is also met by an atmosphere of peace. But it has to be a realistic perspective on this. And this is maybe where there are differences.
Thank you.
Nej, vi behöver gå in.
Thank you.
And last news.
Last news. Yeah.
As a proof of unity among us, the member states have agreed to support unanimously the candidature of Antonio Vitorino as Director General of the Organization of International Migrations.
Okay.
Applauses, please.
Thank you very much. This ends our press conference today. Thank you for staying late, and see you tomorrow at the EU Indo-Pacific Forum. Thank you.